Look, here's the reality. Here's just the honest to God truth. You know it, I know it. Every time we read One Piece, we can see it's in our face. Luffy is hella powerful, like unbelievably powerful. He's currently not in my top 5 strongest. My top 5 strongest are, at the time being, as of the end of 2022, because in the future, we're gonna do, of course, a top 30 stream. Actually, it may be a top 50 stream, but we have to wait and see about that. The fact of the matter, though, is that right now, based on my list last year, it's Shanks, then Kaido, then it's Big Mom, then it's Blackbeard, then it's Akainu. Actually, I lied. Big Mom, I theorize, is gonna come back and gonna come back stronger. So I have Big Mom ahead of Kaido. But that all being said, I don't have Luffy in my top 5 strongest characters in One Piece currently. In fact, I still believe that he's not as strong as Monkey D. Dragon because, in my mind, shonen characters, more often than not, the daddy is stronger than the son until daddy does something wrong or the son does something phenomenal, and then boom, we see the son surpass dad. So I would say that even Monkey D. Dragon and maybe even Mihawk are still stronger than Luffy currently. That's what I'd say for the time being. But I think it's undeniable that Luffy is phenomenally powerful. He's probably either in the top 10 or damn near in the top 10 strongest characters of One Piece currently. The reality is Luffy's crew, one-on-one, they can't compete with him. I know some folks want to push that Zoro and Luffy can compete 1v1 because way back when we did see Zoro fight against Luffy. And look, I would argue back then, centuries, eons ago, when primordial One Piece fans were out and about, I would argue that the gap between Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji was not that far apart. Where Luffy was still ahead of them, but arguably not as much as it is now. Because as it is now, oh my God. This kid is scary. And the craziest part is that, of course, the main thing here going for him is Gear 5. And with Gear 5, Luffy has a host of abilities he can do that we haven't even seen the full scope of just yet. This man just poofed goggles into existence. Well, technically it was the cloud, then the goggles. Where the cloud come from, we're not too sure. Was it his hair? Was it that smoke ring that's always on his shoulders? Did his form? Who knows? But there's also the fire stuff that he used to beat Kaido. That's not explained. And Luffy himself isn't even aware that he has the Hito Hito no Mi Maro Nika. He still thinks it's Gomu Gomu no Mi. So Luffy is complicated right now, very complicated. But I think it's pretty clear in the minds of most people that Luffy is beating all of his crew one-on-one soundly. Only a scant few just weirdos. Like, and I'm a Sanji fanboy, mind you. I love Sanji, but listen, man, I ain't putting Sanji on Luffy's level. Ain't no way, all right? Sanji has, if ever possible, but he has a long way to get there. All right? That's like end of series Sanji to reach like current Luffy now. Maybe, right? That's like end of series Zoro to reach Luffy like now. Maybe. That's how insane Luffy is, I'd argue. So 1v1, Luffy has this against all of his crew members. Maybe you could argue that Usopp can control causality like Griffith can in Berserk, and then Usopp, through crazy shenanigans, whatever the hell, he can trick Luffy to commit seppuku with an Usopp spell. One day, Django, the Michael Jackson moonwalking stud, returns and does some hypnotism on Luffy. And then Luffy can't fight it off for whatever reason, and then Luffy is now under control of Django. Django is a better puppeteer than even Don Quixote do Flamingo. He's gone through hockey blooms, so his hypnotism even stronger. Hey, yo, moonwalk with the bad stuff if you're gonna be that powerful, fair enough. And let's say Luffy is under Django's control. It's gotta be a group fight against Luffy, full stop.
That's right.
Question is, can the collective of the Straw Hat crew beat Monkey D. Luffy?
Tell me.
It depends. but that's what it is. That's what it is. It really does depend, because you can argue that in a lot of cases, they can't do it, even as a group. But in other cases, they can do it. So here's, I think, off the rip, so we have to consider Conqueror's Haki. When it comes to this group fight against Luffy, if Luffy is focusing his Conqueror's Haki on the group, there are people that could, actually probably will pass out via literally the sheer will of Luffy. 3 are very likely, but potentially a 4th. The 3 that are very, very likely are, of course, the weak trio: Usopp, Chopper, and Nami. That's a big deal, because the weak trio, particularly Nami and Usopp, they're very smart and they can utilize a lot of good tactics if they're conscious against Luffy. But can they maintain consciousness? Chopper, I think, is a guaranteed. He's done. He's done. All right. He goes, "Oh my God, Luffy! Shut up, Chopper." That's Chopper's story. Nami potentially could pass out too, but may not pass out for a long period of time. And the same for Usopp. The 4th person could be Brook. Whoa. What? But Brook is kind of studly. He could potentially cut Luffy, with, mind you, Luffy is quote-unquote weak 2 slashes still in Gear 5, as what Kaido showed when Luffy was grabbing onto Kaido and he went to the sky. Keep in mind, though, that this is Luffy's like regular base body. So if Brook catches Luffy off guard, he can do a Yahatsugiri boom, and then Luffy could take some potential damage from Brook. But if Luffy uses Armor Haki hardening, then he's fine. And then again, even though Brook has his moments of being an absolute stud, Big Mom would know. Oh, Big Mom would absolutely know that this bag of bones can be a true Giga Chad with a strong jaw. However, he's also had his skittish freak out moments. A lot of times he's right alongside the weak trio trying to run away. And so I kind of feel like Brook is up in the air where he may or may not pass out. Not too sure. Now, when it comes to the front men, it's got to be Zoro and Sanji, just flat out. Jinbei is not a guarantee, but I'll get that soon enough. And I'll explain why. But Zoro and Sanji have got to be the tanks. They got to be the one to take the damage, bear the brunt of Luffy, who's enraged and being mind-controlled Gear 5 shenanigans. Yes, in terms of attack power, in terms of defense, in terms of stamina, in terms of physical strength, in terms of speed. They're the only ones that can really take on Luffy for a period of time. Like, think about it in the case of you have Big Mom fight against 2 Katakuris, or you have Kaido fighting against 2 King the Wildfires, right? It's not going to be, let's say, a guaranteed one-shot, because I'd argue that Luffy is weaker than Kaido Big Mom, even now. However, I'll argue also that Luffy, given certain attacks, could definitely one-shot Zoro and Sanji, given certain attacks, absolutely. The idea, though, is that you need your tanks so the other cats in the back can provide proper support. And that's where you have Frankie, that's where you have Robin. With Robin and Sanji, you still have a degree of tactics that you can utilize against Luffy, but Luffy, because he's so wild and crazy, and he can do things in Gear 5 that not even he himself is aware of, meaning that the strikes themselves can't necessarily plan for it. Woo! Luffy is truly, he could really be just an unbelievable force, and he himself isn't even aware of that. It's one thing when you're laughing and it's all fun and games, and it's like Looney Tune status. It's another thing when you're laughing, it's all fun and games, but it's a horror movie. Oh, yo, those games, those are not the games you want to be in. Most definitely. Most definitely. You want to be outside looking in, not inside wishing you were out. The supports, I think, are going to be Robin and Frankie, particularly if Usopp, Nami, and Chopper, and maybe even Brook, are already knocked out when Luffy focuses Conqueror's Haki on the crew. Frankie with the beams, still deadly. Robin with the joint locks can at times subdue Luffy, but Luffy's physical force will just overwhelm her. It is what it is. But the key is Jinbei. Jinbei could either be in front, a tank, fighting with Sanji and Zoro as one of the frontmen, or he could be a support. The support that wins the Straw Hats the fight against Luffy. Because even though Luffy can have these crazy shenanigans, oh my god, what's going on, and he's making goggles and all these weird things, and wait, the fire thing around him and be Kaido, the fact of the matter is that Luffy is still a devil fruit user. And this is where Jinbei comes in clutch, extra clutch. Especially with Robin. Hey, yo. Jinbei, given a certain environment, can utilize water-based things like genuine tidal waves, genuine water cannons, control currents, and these sort of things can be very vital against Luffy, particularly knowing that when it comes to the frontmen, Sanji and Zoro don't have an issue with water at all. Robin does, but again, her role will be support here. Jinbei is the real key. As per usual, Oyabun, he controls the fate of the Straw Hat crew. If he's in a water environment, I think could suppress Luffy enough to where this would give Zoro, Sanji, Robin, Frankie the time to like subdue Luffy, and then Luffy would ultimately power down, because in Gear 5 he's not unlimited stamina, and then ultimately they can figure out what's going on with Luffy after they subdue Luffy. But if they're not in a water environment, Luffy can beat his own crew if they're not in a water environment, and the weak trio, Usopp, Chopper, and Nami, they're knocked out almost immediately when this guy does the Conqueror's Haki Pulse. Yeah, that's scary. That's a very scary proposition. But when you think about it, you have what? Potentially 4 commander type cats on your crew. You have, because Robin's gonna love now. So you have Robin, you have Jinbei, you have Sanji, and you have Zoro. Even though, again, I do not think that current Luffy is on this level, Big Mom choked that Marco chicken. Big Mom damn near two-shotted Queen. Now, they did rebound, fair enough, but keep it a stack. When Yonko of that caliber are serious, I mean, yo, it's scary business. So Luffy, maybe not in the same vein, but in Gear 5, his Conqueror's Haki infusion is already vastly stronger than Zoro's, and his attacks could potentially bypass Sanji's crazy defense. No, man. No. Luffy's a problem. Especially if he starts doing the fires around his body and it's happening like sporadically, and then they don't know what the hell's going on there. I mean, yeah, Luffy could be a big problem unless Jinbei can mitigate a lot of that issue with water-based attacks in a water environment. But hey, I could be wrong. Let me know though, your stance on the subject matter at hand. If you enjoy Bo's content, then make sure to, of course, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and double tap at subscribe to join the notification squad. I'ma catch you cats on the flip side.
See you. Bye bye.